name is Peter Brown. I'm a dendrochronologist. Dendro meaning tree, and ology, of course, is the study of. Chrono is time, so we're looking at time from trees, and we look at tree rings. Trees such as ponderosa pine, like this one growing up here on Horsetooth Ridge above Fort Collins, they only grow part of the year. They only grow in the summer season, and then they overwinter, and then the next year they grow again. So they put one ring every year, and by looking at the rings, the variations in the widths of the rings, for one thing we can count the age of the tree by how many rings are formed on the tree, but also we can look at things like the climate that the trees are growing under. We don't have to cut the tree down. We can actually use what's called an increment borer to sample the ring patterns on these trees and find out how old the tree is and look at the climate and other factors. It consists of three different parts: the borer itself, the handle, which fits into the borer, and then what's called the spoon or extractor. And I'll show you how this works in a minute. Essentially what we do is we just go up to the side of the tree and we start coring the tree. Now the borer itself is hollow. There's a very sharp cutting tip on there, so it's cutting the wood as it goes in. And there's some threads, just like on a screw. So as we turn the borer, it's turning itself into the tree and cutting the core at the same time. We have to start with living trees because every year the trees are putting on a new ring of growth. So this year, right now, the last ring on this tree is going to be 2009. If we came back at the same time next year, the last ring would be 2010. But what we do is we build up a library of these rings. Then we can go to neat things like this log that you see down here. And then we can find the ring pattern on that log, find where it matches the living tree chronology, and then we can extend our records back further in time. And once we think that we're about into the center of the tree, this isn't a very big tree, this is where the spoon comes into play. So we take the spoon, the core is still attached to the inside of the tree at this point. So all we have to do is, there's little gripper teeth on the spoon, so we can slide this in, jam against the core, that locks it in place, and now we can back the borer off a turn. That'll break the core free, so now we can pull out the core. We'll let this dry for about a week or so, and then we'll mount it to a little wooden core mount, and at that point then we can put a surface on the core, and we can really, then we'll put it under a microscope and we can really study the ring patterns in there. We can look at the seasonal variation in climate, we can look at the seasonal variation in growth of the tree. We can look at things like how fire has affected the tree, how bark beetles have affected the trees over time. And then the last step is just to pull the borer out. So now we've got our core from this tree and others in the site, and we're going to head back to the lab.